Thank you for staying with us on the Pulse. Now time for the sport. I'm Gary L. Smith, and today we are speaking about modern pentathlon. That sport that is a series of different, disciplines put together. But there's a modern form, a modern variation called the modern pentathlon. And today we'll be talking about the first Triathlete West Africa Regional Championship that is going to be held in Accra. To take us through all the idiosyncrasies and all the different versions is Chris Esulfi, the president of the Modern Pentathlon Federation in Ghana. But first of all, let's see what the sport is like, just to give you an idea, and then we'll discuss. A quick education on pentathlon, and then its modern variation, modern pentathlon as well. If, like me, you watch that very critically, there are a few issues that you would like to ask, and I probably will be able to ask on your behalf. Chris Esulfi is here, like I said, he's the president of the Modern Pentathlon Federation in Ghana. In that video, very educational, we saw that there were things like horses and show jumping. Are you going to do that in your event on the 21st of July?
No, not in this event. Yes, it is true. There's horse jumping and show jumping in there. But as you saw, there were 5 disciplines. But the sport is such that they can break it down into 2 or 3.
Right.
So depending on the availability of facility and the logistics, you decide, the world body decides on which one should be
But
used.
you still call it modern pentathlon,
No,
even if it is 2 or 3 events?
It is a modern pentathlon, but
Yes.
when you break it down, there are different names. This particular one is called triathlete.
So that's what you'll be doing in Ghana?
In Ghana. Triathlete. It's an aspect of modern pentathlon.
Okay.
But it's 3 events, and so we call it triathlete.
Which 3 events will you be holding?
We'll be holding swimming, shooting, and running.
Okay.
Yes. But the last, in March, 31st of March, we held the one that had 2 events called the laser run.
Sure.
It was basically the shooting and then the running.
Okay. So this, where is it going to be held? Because we see that from the video that it all has to be held on the same day.
It has to be held on the same day.
Okay.
It starts in the morning, and then you go through, because
Sure.
from one event to the other till you are done.
Sure.
It's going to be done at Legon. We have the swimming at the Legon swimming pool, and then the shooting and the running at the Legon Stadium Oval, Athletic Oval.
Okay, all right. So who are taking part? Because I see that it's a West African regional event.
Yes, there are 7 countries taking part in this. Actually, it's the first of what, just like you rightly said, the first of its kind. So I think we are lucky to have been given the nod to host this. Mali is already here. Ivory Coast is arriving tonight. Burkina Faso is here. Niger is here. Togo, and then Benin.
Right.
And then Ghana, making it 7 countries.
Yesterday, for those of you who watched the polls, you saw that we had the Arm Wrestling Federation also here. They are hosting the African Championships. They also have Mali. So I suspect that all those countries will be on the same flights because all of them are arriving between today and tomorrow as well, as it turns out.
It's not entirely the case. I think my guys, a lot of them actually are arriving by road.
Oh.
Yes. So some of them have done 12 hours, 22 hours of road travel, yes.
Because as I can imagine, in their countries, they also have issues of funding.
What do they do? I mean, it's a West African or African
problem.
Issue. They have issues with funding, so they need to come just by road.
They'll come from Mali by road.
Yes.
By the time they come here, they are tired, and then Ghana will win.
Well, that can be a strategy to use it to floor people, but yes, I know they ended up in Burkina Faso and they joined the Burkina Faso team to be here. So some of them have traveled very far, but they are having a good rest today.
Okay.
Tomorrow
they'll be resting.
Today they are resting.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Tomorrow they'll have the opportunity to use the facility and
that's
warm
unfortunate.
up for the next
We
day.
needed them to come tomorrow so that they take part in tomorrow night.
It has happened before where people you think were rather tired.
They
rather beat the others, so don't bet on that one.
Fantastic. So, I mean, that means there is a future for this sort of variation of the modern pentathlon, I mean, in Ghana, because swimming, there are lots of pools here. The Swimming Federation is very vibrant. We have good swimmers. But it doesn't mean that if you are a swimmer, you will be good in the pentathlon, does it?
No, it does not necessarily mean so.
Yeah.
But I think that the advantage is that anybody who is a swimmer, it's not everybody who can become like Abeku Jackson.
Okay.
In the same way, in the middle distance, it's not everybody who can become like Mo Farah.
Sure.
But I believe that there are some athletes who are more like average athletes who can combine the 2 and the 3 to then hit the world stage, especially in the laser run. The laser run is basically shooting and running.
Okay.
The laser pistols, you have 5 targets to hit in 50 seconds.
Yeah.
If you're able to hit the targets way before the 50 seconds, you move on. If you're not, you have a mandatory 50 seconds to wait till the next round. What that means is that if you wait mandatory 50 seconds, the one who is ahead of you is already gone.
Yeah.
In the modern pentathlon itself, the full one, you do the swimming first, you do fencing, you do the horse jumping, and that is used to rank you.
Sure.
So your ranking is what you use in starting the laser run, that's the shooting and then the running.
Yeah.
So if I'm ahead of you 2 minutes, I start my race. 2 minutes later before you're allowed to start.
Wow.
If I'm ahead of you 10 hours, I start my race 10 hours later before you start.
Yeah.
What I see is that if you have a lot of power also in the running, then you have an advantage, because then if someone is ahead of you even 1 hour, the possibility that you go, because you do 800 one, another 800 you shoot, another 800, 4 800 meters.
Wow.
And then you shoot alongside whilst you do 800. Yeah, so I think that even those who are getting to more like the end of their career in terms of trying to get to Mo Farah, who maybe they are not likely to get, this is an opportunity for them to use to actually shine.
So this is good for athletes who are of average quality, but they can do, various different, because when you go to our secondary schools, there are lots of girls and boys who may not be very fast, but they are decent enough to clock good times. They can swim decently, and so they can take part in these things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. When we had the laser run, it involved 250 participants.
Oh.
And then what we're also doing is to try and rekindle the spirit of volunteerism. So we brought a lot of volunteers. Actually, we had 80 volunteers, proper volunteer, not the Ghana concept of volunteer where people want money. Nobody was paid anything. All we did was give them T-shirts. They understood we were there to volunteer, because what we do is that it's a mixture of all kinds of people, like executives like you come, students from the secondary school come, all kinds of people, the military, the police. So you mix and you network and you get to learn many things. So we give even the youth opportunity to learn something that they can in future rely on as an opportunity even in trying to get jobs. So I think it's an opportunity most of the young ones who know they are good at 1 or 2 should begin to try to combine the 3.
No, I mean, This sounds like a brilliant idea, and I'm sure the people at multimedia are watching. This sounds like something that, you know, some corporate games that would be really good. I mean, to have swimming, running, this, and then at the end of the day, somebody gets some points, some bragging rights, and cash and things like that.
Super.
So just give us an idea of the event dates and some other details.
Okay, so the event is on the 21st, which is Saturday. We start at 8 o'clock with the opening ceremony and others, and then we start the main event like 9:30. Yeah. And then after the swimming, there'll be the swimming first, and then we'll be mixing them up. We'll do the shooting and then the running as well. Then we'll have hopefully a decent closing ceremony. There'll be medals and everything.
Fantastic. So that is Pentathlon has a long and storied and rich history, as you saw in the show reel there, in the Olympics and things like that. And speaking of the Olympics, Mr. Chris Silfi here is a two-time chef de mission. That means he's a team lead of our Olympic team that has gone outside the country. So he knows a lot about these things. He may shoot me, like in the laser run, for asking him this, but I need to ask him about all these Australia issues. You know, as somebody who has done it twice, you've taken athletes, officials and things. We've never had any problems with visa racketeering. What do you think of this whole thing that happened and all the disgrace we had in Australia?
Gary, it's very embarrassing. I hate to talk about it because for a position that I held proudly, I think it's been dragged into the mud to that extent where you find it difficult. If you can delete what you even did, you probably want to do that. And I say this because it's unfortunate. Anybody who does not bow his head down in shame as a sports person for this, I'll be very surprised. There are many theories surrounding all that happened. There are accusations, counter accusations left and right. But I say this from my heart. There's no way the GOC can exonerate itself.
The Ghana Olympic Committee.
No way. No way, because you see, when you make so much noise about somebody bringing people and somebody, the Games Federation only knows the Ghana Olympic Committee.
Sure.
And with the Ghana Olympic Committee, the Games Federation only knows the chef de mission and the president when it comes to these dealings. So the chef de mission is ultimately responsible for any entry that happens. Sure. Before, during, and after. There's no argument about it.
That's it.
There's no way any name, anything to do with accreditation or anything to do with the system, the chef de mission can say, I wash my hands.
So when you saw the government's position and some of its statements that this person has been vindicated, CID report, and so on and so forth, what did you think?
Well, I didn't have to think anything. There are two reasons. One, I'm not privy to the report that has vindicated the people they say they have been vindicated. Two, I'm not privy to the mandate or the terms of reference given to the investigative body for doing that. So I didn't think anything. All I thought was that definitely something happened, and all of us know. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been any investigation. Yeah. So if it is not Mr. A, Mr. B must have done it. So let's find Mr. B.
I think you are speaking in quotes, but we understand the quotes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chris Silfi, who is here in his capacity as the Federation boss for the Modern Pentathlon Federation. I'm Gary Al Smith, and that's the sport.